Hello, I'm Jim DuBois, former CIO of Microsoft, and now staying current doing this interview series with CIO Water Cooler of some of the top CIOs in the world. Today, I've got Marcelo De Santis from Pirelli Tires, and I think that he's got a great story for you. And hello, Marcelo, how are you today?
Hi, how are you doing? Thanks for having me today in CIO Water Cooler. Glad to be here.
I'm really excited to talk to you. I think that we're going to get into what you're doing from a digital transformation point and what you're doing with artificial intelligence and some of those things. But I want to start with a story that I understand we might be able to get you to tell about a recent experience you had summiting Everest and some leadership stories that came out of that.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to share that. I mean, I have to be honest with you. I never got to the summit of Everest, but I tried twice. And let me get back to the reason why I've been climbing during the last 7 years. I'm an ambassador of UNICEF, which is an organization that actually helps underprivileged children across the world. And my wife and I decided to spend a significant amount of our time supporting UNICEF. And one of the ways that we personally support UNICEF is climbing mountains and fundraising. So we have done many climbing expeditions in the Himalayas from Manaslu, Makalu, Pumori up to Everest, which is, as you know, the highest mountain in the world. I tried in 2015. And that was a year in where there was a big avalanche. And unfortunately, I lost 5 teammates during the avalanche, which was a pretty sad story for me and for the team. Then we came back in 2016, and I got to almost Camp 3, 7,000 meters above sea level. And unfortunately, I got pulmonary edema. So it was maybe the most difficult day of my life to come back to base camp only with one lung and in very, very difficult conditions for me and for my teammates. But glad to be here. The good news of this story is as part of all these expeditions, we had the ability to fundraise more than $150,000 for UNICEF, which, I mean, if you think that $1 can pay for one vaccination, that's a lot of vaccination for children that need a lot of help.
So Marcelo, you're well into your first year at Pirelli now. Tell us a little bit about the digital transformation that's happening with that company.
For sure. Let me start sharing with you what does it mean, digital transformation for Pirelli. It basically covers first our transition from being a product-centric company to a consumer company. So everything is about connecting with consumers, specifically through our digital products. It has an aspect of obviously Industry 4.0 in our manufacturing plants. We have 19 manufacturing plants across the world. And last but not least, is about using data in order to power up our internal processes, but also, as I said before, to really understand what our consumers want, what our dealers in our route to market and our OEMs and car manufacturers need from us as a company. So again, it's a focus on consumer, Industry 4.0, and how do we use data to really power up our internal processes.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated about how the transformation is happening in different companies. You're actually putting sensors into the tires now.
We are. I mean, and the reason is that when you look where autonomous vehicles are going, right? And if you see a car today, it's basically hundreds of sensors and hundreds of different parts that have little pieces of software, and they all have to interact with each other. Not only for making the car autonomous, but also secure. But also you can adjust traction control. You can actually really understand when those tires need a replacement. You can actually understand the different surfaces that the vehicle is actually facing through its lifetime. Why not? We're starting to have some conversations with companies that are really interested in the data that those tires are going to be producing. So there are a lot of possibilities in front of us, and sensors and tires together are a great combination to really move into the market with a completely different product.
So Marcelo, tell us what this means to your team. How have you had to respond differently?
I think the main answer to that question is it is being talent, right, and ways of working. On one side, the profiles of the team that is working on digital product are more around UX designers, developers, data scientists. Where you look at the traditional side of the house, it's more about project managers and maybe some people that are configuring things like SAP or any other enterprise applications. That would be one of the big differences. The second big difference is that we're really working following, I would say, a product management approach, in where you see hardcore agile teams working in a list of features, doing their natural sprints. You have a product owner that is really the voice of our final consumer, and really making sure that in each iteration we produce a value to that consumer and getting a product that is every day, every week, a little bit better. Up until we went to the market with the first version of our tires with sensors in California last September, and it has been a success so far. But the team continues to iterate the product, because every single day we find something that adds value to our consumers. So that different ways of working, that different talent has been the largest possible change that we have to drive within our organization.
Have you had to focus on changing the culture to get IT people to move faster and be able to be in a real agile environment?
Yes, the answer is yes. And I would say it's not only within IT, but also outside IT. When you're working in a product organization and you're working in iterations, that you need to fail fast, learn, and move to the next iteration. When you're in a culture in where, we typically say failure is not an option,
right,
and going from there to I want to fail fast, at the beginning, it has been difficult to explain that was going to add value, right? So we have to go through a couple of iterations of people to really understand what is to add value in increments, but at the end of the day, moving forward, and in some cases failing, but capitalizing on those learnings to get to the next iteration into a better place, right? So I think the largest challenge to your question has been not only in the IT team, but I would say outside the IT organization.
Yeah, you have to bring everybody along.
Exactly.
How are you using artificial intelligence with all of this data?
Well, I mean, we're using it, I would say, without disclosing the recipes of what we're doing. The main two things we're using is machine learning on one side and image recognition on the other side. Machine learning is specifically around our sales demand planning process. I would say we are lucky that we have many data points and data sources. Sorry about this. Data points and data sources in where we can actually grab that information and actually use algorithms and machine learning to make better prediction of our demand forecast, and then move the number all the way down the supply chain and get a lot of productivities in manufacturing.
With the artificial intelligence, the machine learning that you're doing to help predict and drive efficiency in the process, what do you think the next thing will be that you work on with artificial intelligence?
I think it will be, because we have a roadmap for that. I think we have spent the last 6 to 7 months to really understand what artificial intelligence is first, and then which was not easy to really spell out, and then to really understand which are the processes that can be augmented or replaced by artificial intelligence. We will continue down the road of our supply chain, because that's where we found the best business case. We talk about demand planning, and we will continue through all the planning chain up until the manufacturing plants. The second use case that we are actually working is in manufacturing with image recognition. I mean, just to give you a 10,000 feet of the application that we are testing and actually piloting in a very hard way as we speak, is taking pictures of our different tires at different parts of the process, and actually comparing that with images of I would say last 12 months or 24 months, and I started to really predict quality, right? In terms of shape, and it's a 3D image that goes through a lot of machine learning and algorithms behind, and that will be, I think, an extremely, I would say, source of benefits for the company. So those are the two areas that we think that we want to focus our attention. Honestly, at the beginning, we found so many areas that we wanted to attack and so many technologies that are available. We said, let's keep it simple. Let's find two specific areas. Let's go deep. Let's find the right partners to help us in the journey, and let's iterate as much as we can, delivering rapid value.
Right. So maybe you can't say, but are there any of the car manufacturers, Ferrari or Lamborghini, that are pushing you to do things that you think are interesting?
They are, yes. The answer is yes. I cannot tell you which one, but I gave you a range of very prestige car manufacturers. They always push us to do things differently, right? I mean, and it's a positive thing, because that healthy tension make us try to innovate always. But we also are pretty innovative ourselves. We have a high bar in terms of innovation. But yes, the answer is yes. All the car manufacturers are working either in electrifying their cars or making them more autonomous. So that gives you a sense of which are the areas in where we are actually doing R&D and or doing proof of concepts with each and all of them.
So no hints for us on who to root for from a Formula One perspective, or?
Well, Formula One, we are the exclusive supplier of Formula One. We just announced our new set of tires for 2018. We just added one hypersoft and super hard. So cars are going to be faster, I tell you, in 2018 for sure, with the new compounds. And Formula One for us is a source of inspiration, and also is a source of R&D, because as we test the different compounds in very extreme situations, also very demanding situations in terms of racing and performance, we learn a lot from there, and also we get a lot of data, right? Which is extremely important for what we do, and we use that data for products with car manufacturers. Absolutely.
I imagine that helps you on bringing on talent on the team and being so tied into things like Formula One.
Well, I mean, when you talk about Pirelli, you know about our calendar on one side, our more, I would say, artistic side of Pirelli. Then you have, motorcycling, you have Formula One. So it's a fun company to work for.
So one of the things that you're focused on is this customer-centric mindset. Is there something that you're needing to do with your team to get them really engaged on that perspective?
Well, yes. One of the things that I try to do with the team is actually get closer to our consumers and customers. I'm coming from 20 years of CPG experience in Mondelez, and when you're in a CPG company, the first thing that you talk about in the morning and at the end of the day is what your consumers are saying about your products, your brands, everything that you do. Since we're moving from a product-centric to a consumer-centric company, one of the things that we did with the team is, for example, spending time with our dealers, right? Really understanding how a big dealer is working, which are the problems that they face day to day with the consumers. Also going to the smaller ones, right? I mean, the larger ones might have some problems, might have some space in their stores to do things. When you go to the smaller dealers, maybe the situation is different. And also, as we're getting close to consumers, to the driver, as we were testing our digital products, tires with sensors, we have part of our team going to do some test drives in very nice and fun Lamborghinis and Ferraris, and trying to see how the product was actually behaving in real life and how the consumers were reacting to the product. And that's where we got absolutely a lot of information to feed our product teams and to get into new features, new capabilities that today are part of our product in the market.
That's great. That's great. Well, we probably should tie this up. It's always fascinating to hear stories and especially from people that have the experience like you, Marcelo. So I'm going to try and see if we can get one Formula One hint for us to who to root for coming up from your perspective.
Well, it's not like I have any crystal ball, I can predict the future, but I'm a Ferrari fan. I'm being in Italy, sitting in Milan. I would say hopefully Ferrari has a great season in 2018. I was very sad when we lost in Monza because I was here in the Grand Prix because it's just 1 hour from the office. So if you guys want to root for Ferrari, I will be very happy, and I wish them the best.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me, and have a great day.
You too.